Welcome to Discovering. Spring is right around the corner, which means the ice fishing season is coming to a close. We'll take a look at one of the final tournaments of the year.
It's worth coming up here and having fun, and the people are great. It's a great place to come.
Then it's a trip to Ironwood for a tour of the Stormy Kromer plant. That's all tonight, right here on Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
It's not hard to find an ice fishing tournament in the Upper Peninsula. There's something happening somewhere just about every weekend. They're all about ice fishing, of course, but many are just as much about spending a day on the ice with family and friends. Here's a look at a tournament that's been going on for over 30 years.
We're here for our annual ice fishing tourney here. I've owned the lodge since the early 80s. After a fire, we built it up, and we've been here ever since. We've been running a ice fishing tournament here on Lake Gogebic since the early 1980s, and it's grown into the point where we're expecting almost 200 fishermen and women today to be out there trying to catch some of the prizes.
We've been coming here to the lodge's tournament now for 20 years or so, and we've always had pretty good luck. Sometimes with the northern, sometimes walleye, and we've even caught some whitefish here. This year you opened up the lake, but we're kind of partial to this spot, and it's one of those Youper things that we always got to come here. So we're hoping that we'll catch something this afternoon. We missed a couple this morning, so we're confident we're going to be in the running.
Today the entire lake is open for fishing. This is the first time we've done that and opened it up so people can fish at their favorite spots anywhere in the lake. They must check in here at Gogebic Lodge before they go out. We have categories for walleye, and with the top fish getting $1,000. Northern pike, the top fish, gets $750. Jumbo perch, the top fish gets $500. And crappie, we have a category for. We measure each fish, and then we weigh each fish. We add the length and the weight together, and we come up with a number, and that determines which one is the top fish. And they bring them in all during the day, so it's not something where all the fish come in late at night. The entry fee to get in the tournament is $25, and all that money goes back to the anglers with over $3,000 in prizes given out. The contest runs from 7 a.m. in the morning until 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and then we have a banquet here for anybody that would want that fished in the tournament or other customers that want to just sit down and relax for a while. It's kind of the wrap-up of winter season, and we're very happy that we can share this with everybody in the UP and let people know what we do in our spare time up here. Lake Gogebic is the largest lake in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It encompasses almost 14,000 acres, 38 miles of shoreline, so it's a huge lake to fish in. It's very abundant with walleye, jumbo perch, northern pike, smallmouth bass, fantastic fishing for those, even though the season's closed right now. And you get some bluegill and some crappies. So it's got trout streams leading in and out of the lake from all different directions, and it gets fed from northern Wisconsin and from the north end of the lake towards Lake Superior. We have had a lot of people up here. Not a lot of them fish, but the ones that do fish have been catching walleyes, and what's helped is the DNR could see that there was a surplus of walleyes in the 12 to 14 inch range, and the limit for walleyes was at 15, so the DNR Commission changed the size limit on walleyes, so out of the bag limit of 5 per day, you can now take 2 of them that are smaller than 15 inches.
The tournament here, been coming here probably about every tournament just about. Got buddies from downstate that come up, and we can have a good time doing that. Have some elk and some venison and things like that, and just make it a good festivity, I guess. We put our fish pole up here. We had that, I don't know how it came up, but everybody's got a buck pole, but we just put some spikes in the old flag pole here and put some fish on it. No big trophies, but you got to take what you can get. We were trying to be opportunists this year. We put a register fish here sign over here. We thought maybe anybody stopped by, we'd tell them we'd register their fish for them, and it's not really cheating, it's called opportunity.
This year we're trying something new. We've got a jaw jacker. It's an automatic fisherman. We're anxious to see it. It's the first time on the ice. We're waiting for it to go off very patiently, but hopefully we're going to catch something this afternoon.
Tournament participants are primarily from our area up here. I've got one group that comes up deer hunting, and the 5 guys come back up here. Them and their fathers have been coming here for years, hunt up here and just enjoy the North Woods.
All right, our 4th year coming up here from Kalamazoo, Michigan. We always have a good time up here. It's a good place. Fishing's fun. Fishing today is a little slow. Of course, yesterday was much better because it was the day before. Yeah. My little brother last year won the Northern Division. So yeah, it's worth coming up here and having fun, and the people are great. It's a great place to come.
Lake Gogebic has a great abundance of jumbo perch. I would say 25% of the master angler perch caught in the state of Michigan come out of Lake Gogebic. And I would say 25% of all those perch come right in front of Gogebic Lodge.
Yeah, I've been coming for quite some time, and Buck came here and interviewed me. And it was my first fish I got in probably, 4 or 5 years of fishing. I thought it was pretty cool. Buck was very interested in what I had to say.
I marked a lot of fish right away this morning, but she slowed down. From 7 to about 9, I marked a lot of fish. They didn't want to bite. I caught one nice northern, probably about 24.
We purchased the property up here in the early 80s. Had a catastrophe, had a fire, and the main lodge burned down, and we rebuilt into the new A-frame type chalet. In addition, we've got 2 3-bedroom large chalets and 6 other chalets that are all new in the last 10 years. A couple other new cabins sitting on 16 acres here with a huge harbor, a boat ramp, a launch, a sauna building, baits available here, screened-in fish cleaning place, freezer facilities. So anything you want to do to come on a nice vacation up here, winter or summer, you can do it. In the winter, we get a tremendous amount of snowmobilers. In the summer, you get all kinds of families up here, and from little kids to some of the older fellows that have been coming here for years, and we welcome them, and a lot of them come back, and they enjoy the Upper Peninsula. It's not crowded. We also feature here at Gogebic Lodge breakfast, lunch, and dinner all during the winter, and in summer we have lunch and dinner, and we have a beautiful cocktail lounge, and we run parties inside and out and support our local athletic teams up here with steak fries and other events. So there's always something to do at Lake Gogebic.
Here's a look at some things coming up across the UP. The Upper Peninsula Environmental Coalition presents Celebrate the UP. The event will be held at the Keweenaw Bay Ojibwa Community College in Baraga on March 18th and 19th. All events are free to the public. For all the details, visit upenvironment.org. Don't miss the largest indoor display of recreational products in northern Michigan. It's the 23rd Annual Boat, Sport, and RV Show at the Superior Dome in Marquette on March 18th through the 20th. For more information, visit upboatshow.com. On the 19th, it's the Wildlife Unlimited of Dickinson County Annual Banquet at the Pine Grove Country Club in Iron Mountain. Great food, great prizes, and a great way to help support wildlife and habitat projects in Dickinson County. For more information, visit wudc.org. In last week's show, we visited the Stormy Kromer plant for the launch of their limited edition Honor Flight hat. While I was there, I took a tour of the Stormy Kromer plant and got a look at how these famous hats are made, as well as some of the other products they make right here in the UP.
So the history behind this cap is that George Stormy Kromer was a baseball player, and he loved baseball. That was his thing. And he met a lovely woman named Ida Homan, and he asked her father's permission 3 times if he could marry her. And each time her father said, "Not until you get a real job." So that was when George left his dream of playing baseball full-time and started to work on the railroad. His nickname was Stormy because apparently on the railroad he had a little bit of a temper, so that was where the Stormy came from. And the legend has it that he lost one too many hats on the railroad as he was riding through the Midwestern plains, and he came home one night to Ida and he had a 6-panel, wool baseball cap, and he asked her to modify it. And so she actually changed the brim a little bit, made it slightly different, and added this ear band onto the outside that really made the hat stay on your head, and also added this extra warmth where you could pull the ear band down and it would cover your ears. And so that was in 1903. He started wearing these to work. He had a few of his co-workers on the railroad who said, "Oh, I'd like to have one of those," so Ida sewed a few more. So you can see that the cap is made out of 6 panels. Like most baseball caps are a 6-panel cap, but this became very synonymous with railroad workers. And so when the guys would be on the train and they'd stop in a new town, they'd actually walk in a bar and say, "Are there any 6-pointers here?" And that's how they knew where they could find other fellow railroad men and kind of like-minded people. So that really became a way of identifying fellow rail workers, was by calling each other 6-pointers. They started sewing them in their home. This was near actually Green Bay, Wisconsin. Kaukauna is where they were. And eventually they moved the factory to Milwaukee, which is where they made the hats up until 2001. So that was when my father, Bob Jackwart, who is the CEO of our company, he was having coffee with a friend here in town in Ironwood who sold the Cromer caps. And this gentleman said, "I went to place my order for more caps, and they told me that they were no longer making the wool Cromer caps." And so my dad thought, well, I have a sewing factory. And he's kind of jokingly said to his friend, "Do you have the phone number? I'll call them and I'll buy the company." And about a month later, he had done that, all with a handshake. There was no contract or paperwork or anything. It was just a handshake deal between 2 gentlemen. And he brought the cap back here in 2001. And since then, it was really just like this hat with the red, black plaid. And since then, all the different colors, all the different styles, sizes, the coats, the vests, everything else, those really things that we've developed since 2001. And adding this was so much fun. We had just a basic women's cap, but adding the pedal pusher with this flower and the little bit of feminine look to it, but still rugged, still wool, still with an ear band that works. This really was a big change in our company, and this is it depends on the year, 2nd or 3rd best-selling product, right after the original and our really insulated cap. So it's been fun to take a brand that was such a male product for so many years, it still is, but to really add a female element to it and go after that demographic and that consumer has been really fun to add that as well. This is where everything starts. So this is the cutting area. On this end of the table, they get the fabric that's needed. This is going to be hat lining. Here's some wool. This is probably 12 layers of wool. These are going to turn into some ladies' caps. So the cutting process is all computerized. So this order that it's working on, this is only cutting out these little flower shapes that go on one of our ladies' caps. So it's cutting out these intricate shapes. It's also drilling holes where the tie will go through the shape as well. So you can imagine that doing this by hand would be extremely time consuming, but we're able to do it really efficiently here. And this is a great example too, where you can see we have software that puts the different pieces as close together as possible so that there's very little wasted fabric in between. When we bought Stormy Kromer, what they used to cut at the time was actually an old meat cutting bandsaw, and they were just running the wool through there. So obviously this is a lot more efficient. All these boxes are where the different pieces of the hats go into, and it gets sort of assembled to go to the proper sewing station. So we call this bundling, and they're just making sure everything stays together What's interesting, the hat has 6 panels across the top, and each of the 6 are slightly different. So they've got to be kept in order and kept in such a way that they don't get mixed up. There's some inspection going on, just so one of our inspectors just double checking for the quality. This is a new hat for this upcoming fall, so just really taking a look to be sure that everything is looking okay, especially when we roll out new products, to make sure that we're not missing anything in the process. This is the area where we are putting the Stormy Kromer signature on the caps or on the garments. So we've got hats being sewn here, and we've got the back of shirts being done here. So these are flannel shirts. And then over here, these are the ear bands, so that on the back, it's gonna say Stormy Kromer. This is all done computerized as well. We do like to remind people that there are Cromer imposters out in the world. You look for the signature on the back. That is a good way to know that you have the real thing. It can be imitated, but no one else can say Stormy Kromer. This was one of the changes we made to the hat when we bought it. And when my dad purchased it and it was the Cromer cap, there was nothing on the outside that said that it was a Cromer. And so that was one of the things that we did add, was to put that mark on the outside. Again, so you would know that you were getting the real thing. This is a new women's plaid for this fall. So Penny's putting the crown together. She's sewing basically 1/2 of the hat together, and then she'll come back and do the other side and sew them together. This fabric actually comes from Scotland. This is authentic Harris tweed. You know, over there it's really used as a hunting type fabric for sort of English hunting. And we thought it would be very cool to combine the sort of rugged American look of our product with this really beautiful British type fabric. So this is sewing the label that goes inside every cap. It's a label that tells the story of George and Ida and how they created the very first cap. And then this machine will automatically sew a perfect, beautiful rectangle to tack that down. Our next most popular product after our caps are some wool and leather choppers that we make. These are made with goat skin, and it'll be sewn together with wool. But we hear from ice fishermen and other people who spend a lot of time outdoors that these mittens are the best mittens they've had. So I guess you can't really mess with nature's materials like wool and animal skin. They work great. So these are some little baby Kromers. So these are for the little ones. And Irene is attaching the ear bands, attaching the ties to them. Sometimes call these grandma gifts. They're grandma buys these for her new grandson or granddaughter. We make them in pink and blue and red, black plaid. This is a quilted vest. This is made out of waxed cotton. So we love that material. It still has that rugged kind of feel. It's still cotton, but then it has a wax treatment to it. So this is an example of what we're going to be launching in a few weeks. So these are ladies' hats, obviously, for summer. You can see they've got plaid on the inside, so they're a little bit fun, still tying in with Stormy Kromer. Most of our sewers are cross-trained in a number of different areas. That allows us to be flexible with people and to not lay someone off because this project ends, but we're able to move people around to different things as the work kind of flows up and down. So this is the shipping area. Where everything, all the hats, all the different sizes, all the colors. This is a kind of a unique, little different design. We think it looks kind of old-timey, but still pretty relevant for today. So this is a part of the spring-summer line, which is coming out in a few weeks. We're trying to make the brand be a little bit more year-round, and so that people don't have to put their Cromer away. When the weather warms up, they can keep wearing their Stormy Kromer stuff, giving them some other ways to do that besides the traditional cap. Give them some good quality American-made stuff to wear in the summertime as well. So this is a nice man's wallet made out of our waxed cotton, and then ladies' wallets, same things, but more of a ladies' style. So if it can be sewn, we're gonna figure out how to sew it. And what's really neat about, making stuff here and making it in the USA is that we get to be a part of the whole process of developing a new garment. Rather than we sketch this design, we ship it off to India or China. You get very little communication. And here we're constantly back and forth between the design and the production. And I think that helps us make a better product. It's pretty fun. So, I grew up being around sewing. When the business was a big part of my life as a kid, my sister and I would actually come to the shop, which was much smaller when I was a kid, but we'd play there on Saturdays and we would pretend to like answer the phone and take orders. And very early on, my dad taught me how to make change in the cash register and wait on customers, on those Saturdays. So this sewing business in general had always been a big part of my growing up and who I was. But I was also one of those kids who grew up in the UP small town and swore they were leaving when they graduated high school and they were gonna never come back. So I left town, went to college, did my own thing. I actually lived in Texas for 11 years. And then as I got older and I would come home and talk with my dad some about the business just to keep updated and come here and visit, it started to slowly call me back and that I wanted to be a part of it and that I also didn't want this business that my grandfather started, my dad had taken over. I didn't want it to sort of end with my dad. And so I came back in 2009, and when I came back, wasn't exactly sure kind of the role that I would have here at the company, but over time, it became clear that I really wanted to work on Stormy Kromer specifically. And so I focus on the marketing and the new product development for the brand, and it is a joy every day to work on something that has the kind of loyal customers and fans that we have, the kind of emails that we get. The family, 26 people in our family all came for Thanksgiving and we all wore our Stormy Kromer caps, and here's a picture of all of us. Or I cannot tell you how many calls we get where people say, I just buried my father or my grandfather and his Stormy Kromer cap went with him. And to work on a brand that means so much to people, and to have that responsibility to keep it going and to keep making it better and to keep adding products and making things for people's children and grandchildren, it's a huge responsibility and it's also a great joy. And I have fun every single day that I'm here.
Well, that's it for tonight. If you'd like to keep tabs on what's coming up on Discovering or see where we've been, you can join us on Facebook or go to 906outdoors.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Discovering.